I'm an adult, so that means I watch TikToks a week later on Instagram.
Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab your friends, let's listen together on Get Dumped On an Info Dump Podcast.
Bo, take us in.
You got it. Hello.
Bo, take us in.
I just said hello. Like, can I speak? Can
Bo,
I speak?
Take us in.
You got it. Hey.
Take us in, Bo.
Oh, get ready. We're about to
Hey, Bo. Take us in.
Bo, take us in.
Hey, welcome to the Get Dumped On podcast. Okay, for reals. Okay, hey.
Yeah, take us in.
Okay, we're going in. Okay.
Hey, take us in, Bo.
Hey, everyone. You guys ready to go in? Because I'm taking us in. Taking us into the Get Dumped On podcast. Yeah, that's the Get Dumped On podcast. Info Dump. I forgot. What's our name? What's the name of our podcast? Get Dumped On an Info Dump podcast. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's only been a year, folks. It's only been over a year.
It's where a bunch of us.
It's almost 2 years now.
Bunch of us just huckle and chuckle, just talk about knowledge and shit. There's usually 3 of us, like Zach said. Sometimes 5.
There's 4 of us.
Feeling spicy.
There's 4 of us.
Who's Huckle and who's Chuckle? I assume it's you and Zach, but which one is Huckle and which one is Chuckle?
I think
Zach's a Huckle.
We're the crispy boys. The crispy boys. Always crispy.
They were gone
Oh
for
my gosh,
so long.
the crispy boys' names are Huckle and Chuckle.
This is the crispy boys. This is still the intro.
Here's your crispy boys. You chuckle and chuckle.
Oh, the crispy boys is gonna finish
If you
this intro.
haven't listened to the Crispy Boys episode and this is your first episode,
What episode
that's
was
going to be
that?
very confusing and out of context.
That episode was
I
so
honestly
long
don't know.
ago.
I don't know.
I think it was when we were talking about
Comfort Foods?
brownies.
Rice Cakes and Madness?
I don't think it was. I think it was.
It ended up being
Pre
crispy. Then we started doing this. And then it became the crispy
The crispy boys. The crispy is so
Send
Anyway.
stuff into space. I don't know.
Anyways, it's me. It's me, Bo. I'm the hostess with the what? Say the line.
You can't say that anymore. Remember, we gave it to Evan.
Mostest.
The original. Oh, sorry. The OG hostess with the mostest.
That's
Me,
copyrighted.
Bo.
You have to pay Evan money now.
Fuck Evan. If you listen to Evan, fuck you. I'm also surrounded here with Huckle. Say hi,
Bo
Huckle.
can't do an intro without
can't do an
attacking
intro.
somebody.
Huckle, say
This
hi.
time it's Evan.
Huckle.
Hi, it's me. I'm Huckle.
Also known as Zach. Also known as Zach Attack. Make sure to call him that if you ever meet him in person.
No.
Then we got, oh wait, crap. Zach's doing the fucking show. Introducing him first. I did it backwards.
Bo is all over the place right now.
I'm sleepy. I am sleepy. Here, I'm going to tell you, everyone get closer. I'm going to tell you a story about
Don't get
Oh,
close.
leaning
life.
in.
Don't get
My
close to
life
him.
Leaning in so
Don't
close.
get legally. Don't
I-
get close to him. He's
I
not
work-
allowed to be near you.
I work
I
at
don't
8
wanna
to,
be
I work
that
at 8 to
close.
5 now, right? And
He has a real job.
and it takes
Everyone, Bo just became a real person.
It takes me an hour to get to work. It takes me an hour to get home.
Oh, that's awful.
Oh
I feel
my
that's
God.
Awful. That's terrible.
I'm dead inside, and I have.
Yeah, that's awful.
I really think I'm just gonna end it all. I can't.
I have to drive
I
like
don't blame you.
17 minutes to work, and I hate it.
Well, you nice humble brag. Anyway, so we're here with Andrew. Say hi, Andrew.
Are we?
We're still going.
I forgot what this episode is even.
Yeah, we'll
We
get
haven't
there,
even
we'll get
said
there.
what this
We'll get
episode's
there.
about. We've been
we
recording
haven't.
for
We'll get
3
there.
minutes.
Keep going. I know that's the magic of me.
Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
how you doing? How you doing?
Bo, take us in.
Okay, yeah. Hey, everyone, welcome to the Get Dumped On podcast.
Yeah.
I said it wrong again.
We've lost every single listener.
And we're also here with Ash. Hey, Ash, how you doing?
Baby, I'll be your huckleberry. You don't have to double dare me. The first time you said huckle, that came into my head, and I had to get it out, or I would not be able to focus on anything else.
I just
I'm doing
started
good.
thinking
How
about
are you?
Bigfoot.
Good. Well, you know,
Like
I'm not.
in,
First of all, you know I'm not doing well. I already.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You just said.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for the hard times that you've been going
I'm
through.
trying to live every day like my last, and I'm hoping it's soon going to happen.
Hey, Bo,
No bueno.
Yeah.
don't take yourself out, but take us in.
Okay.
My
got it. Hey, welcome
therapist
to the
said
Get
that
Dumped
negative
On-
self-talk, that changing negative self-talk is one of the easiest things you can do to try and better your life.
Yeah, you dumb bitch.
That's why I attack the audience every time. I'm doing it for you guys.
Zach, what's
It's
this
lashing
episode
out.
about?
Yeah.
Zach, and we got Zach here. Zach's doing he's the main man on the mic today. Zach.
Hey.
Has Bo
It's a
ever been able to do an
5-minute
intro
intro.
less than
It's a
5 minutes?
5-minute long intro.
Zach, take us in.
Yeah, when you yell at me for this episode being long later on, you have to subtract the 5 minutes that it took us to get started.
Okay. And I already used all my executive points of talking, so I'm done for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, Bo's going to take a nap now.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully I don't wake up.
Oh, jeez. All right. Have you ever been to Australia?
No,
but I had an Australian stay at my house one time.
That's pretty cool.
I had Australian foreign exchange roommates in college.
Oh,
that's fun.
I got drunk with Australians in Vegas. We were on our way to a strip club and they joined our limo.
That's a classic Australians abroad story, I think.
I think my buddy Renee's still friends with them on Facebook to this day.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're getting closer, but no, never been to Australia.
Well, it's close enough, I think, to the subject.
Ask me.
Andrew, what's your experience been with the island continent of Australia?
The only thing from Australia that I know is from Australia is Crims Hemsworth.
Crims Hemsworth.
Let's call back previous episode.
Crims.
Please listen.
What episode? I missed this.
I believe that was the whale ship Essex, I believe.
Oh
yeah.
Oh,
because Crims Hemsworth.
Because Crims Hemsworth
movie
was in it. I was making fun of Zach.
Yeah.
Zach, take it away.
Crims.
Zach, take us in.
Oh right, yeah. So this is this episode is it started off as one episode and now it's 3 episodes.
What?
It's 3 episodes now? Last I heard it was 2 episodes.
Okay, you need to finish some of these 2-parters that you've already started before you start another. That's like starting another new piece of cake before you have finished the cake you have.
I know people are still waiting on my other 3-parters.
It's fine because they're disparate. They're disparate stories.
How many multi-part episodes are you currently waiting on finishing?
Well, just this one. So I wanted to tell the story of 3
the red rock hard dudes, and then the other ones.
Yeah, you never
I
did
hit a
super
snag
hard
with
dudes.
my research on that one, okay? And I've moved on. It's fine. It'll come back eventually. So this one is actually I'm 2/3 of the way done with it so far. So maybe this will just be a 2-parter. But I wanted to do an episode about 3 fun stories about Australian criminals. Because, we've got Australia has the kind of international reputation of being full of criminals because of how it started as an English penal colony.
Racist.
We'll talk about that a little bit. And then I wanted to talk about...
Why is that racist?
I don't know. I don't know.
White people,
Yeah, you can't be racist against English people.
Yeah, white people are just inherently racist.
They started racism.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, sure. Yeah, that's fair. Go ahead.
Anyway,
Zach.
this was going to be a 3-in-1er, and then it became a 1-in-3er. So
that sounds like a slang word for a poop.
It sounds very sexy. I'm loving it.
Each story is its own episode now, and so I've completed 2 of them. So this is going to be at least a 2-part series about fun Australian criminal biographies or whatever. And so starting off with...
You said 3 times last 3 seconds, buddy. Come on.
All right, I'm spinning my wheels here. Okay, let's talk about Australia. Let's talk about the penal colonies.
Without 5 minutes before getting the episode started.
I want to use this episode. I'm going to introduce how the Australian penal colony system kind of functioned, and then talk about one of the most notorious criminals who went through that system and kind of how it treated him and why he was there and what happened. And then next episode, we're going to be talking about a guy. I don't know if I want to spoil it yet.
No.
Who is kind of an icon. But anyway, so before we kind of get started about all of this English stuff, I've got just a little tiny paragraph of preamble, because I just feel like we need to do an acknowledgement here that while we're going to be talking about, English and Irish and generally just kind of European white folks in this episode,
gross.
Australia, they stole Australia from the first Australian groups who lived there for 65,000 years before the English showed up. Mm-hmm. They crossed over by land bridges and short sea crossings from Southeast Asia, making it probably the first time that a new continent was settled by Homo sapiens outside of the Africa, Europe, Asia landmass situation. And by the time that the Europeans first arrived, there was at least 500 language groups living on this continent. And some of these culture groups can trace their stories and lineages back hundreds and hundreds of generations through one of the most incredible oral tradition systems with songs and dances and paintings and stories and a lot of really interesting folklore, or I guess folklore is probably an offensive word for it at this point, but
Racist.
it's really incredible stuff. I love the rock art. I love Woomras. I'm big fan of the didgeridoo. And it's just, they as a people have the right to exist, and the English often did not. And I think that that's something that we need to kind of acknowledge at the start of this episode before we.
I think everyone knows that, dude.
Well, everyone knows it, but I feel like I still need to say it.
That doesn't mean that you should stop talking about it.
The English
It's
stealing
important to do
things?
acknowledgements of these
What?
things.
I'm doing the Macaulay Culkin face right now. What?
But I just don't want to feel like
Good
I'm
face,
like
good face.
erasing the first Australian groups from like this story. But anyway,
Zach, take us in.
let's talk about the origins of Australia. This is in. We're in.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the episode.
We've been going.
We've been going.
Zach, take us
The
in.
first Europeans to
Zach,
come
take us in.
across Australia were
Zach, are we in?
what? Yes, we're in.
He's
Oh,
in.
cool.
He's in the main frame.
This is ridiculous. And so while the English used Australia as a penal colony, the first Europeans to discover it were the Dutch, which is
Oh.
classic Dutch activity in the 1600s.
Classic Dutch.
But they didn't make too much of an attempt to colonize Australia in the 1600s because they only charted the west coast, which has a lot of shoals and offshore islands, and they kept doing shipwrecks by accident. And they were like, not worth the effort. No thanks. No thank you on this. And actually, kind of funny story here. The first Europeans to permanently occupy Australia were victims of a shipwreck in 1629, which is fun. And I love shipwreck stories, so stay tuned for an episode on that story eventually. There's a lot of players. It's kind of complicated, so I'm still trying to figure out how to simplify it enough into a podcast that still shows the kind of story. But there was a mutiny. And
Don't tell the story. Don't tell the story. Save it.
and
Save it for the
a
podcast.
Satanist and a whole bunch of cool stuff like that. Now, the English, they first charted the East Coast,
Boo.
which was much easier to navigate. And the East Coast is where
Just
like
the English, not the East Coast.
Sydney is and Melbourne. It's like the part where it's the
It's
center.
like the
of
main one. It's like the
Yeah.
Gold Coast. Like it's where all the Bondi Beach and shit is.
Yeah, and so the East Coast is like the nice part of Australia. Australia is a
Wow.
lovely country. I spent 6
Wow.
months there when I was in college.
So you're
It's
saying there's
a
a bad
wonderful
part of it.
country.
Sounds like you said it was a trash. There's some really trashy
But-
places.
It's a
I'm
trashy-
sorry, Australian.
Not a lot of people live on the West Coast. I mean, Perth is there. Some of the oldest fossils in the world are in Australia.
And like the entire middle of Australia is
It's
There's not a
huge.
whole lot there.
there's not a
just
whole lot there.
so much.
Not a lot of people, not a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like so hot.
So the English first charted Australia in 1770 when James Cook, who was a notorious captain type who made a lot of discoveries of this nature, he mapped it, he claimed it for Great Britain, and he coined the name New South Wales.
What a dick.
Which is the state that Sydney is in.
I like the first part of that sentence. I didn't like the last part of that sentence. Mapping it, cool. Map it all you want. Claiming it for England, meh.
I'm from New South Wales.
Just find it. Just be like, it's mine now. No, it's not how shit works.
Mm-hmm.
It's ours.
Hey, Captain Cook, what about all the people living there? There's like a bunch of people.
He's like,
Look at all of them.
they're mine too. We'll call them cookies.
Mm.
Well, now 1770, there was one kind of important thing that happened shortly after
Oh
1770.
yeah, how could you forget?
Mm-hmm. Bo, tell us what it was.
Your mother was born.
It
Wow.
was 6 years after 1770.
1776.
The American Revolution happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember
I call
that?
I call America getting uppity.
Yeah. So the American Revolution happened in 1776, pretty shortly after Australia was first mapped. And one of the things that England was using America for
The
initially
colonies.
was the colonies.
Tobacco.
Was they would send a lot of prisoners there just to have them work on farms and build infrastructure and stuff like that. They were like, these prisoners are going to
Ship
America.
him to the colonies.
And we don't have to think about them anymore. When America was like, we're independent, all of a sudden, England couldn't send their prisoners there anymore because that's,
got him.
yeah. And so they're like, well, we just discovered this New South Wales. Maybe we should send people there instead. Now, this
It's a
time,
hell of a trip.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the 1700s. So why was England shipping people there? And yeah, it was a hell of a trip. It took about 6 months for people to get from England to Australia. So they really had to have a pretty good reason for that. And so this kind of goes back to the early 1700s, a few years earlier. And this is why they started the whole shipping prisoners around thing. And in those times, a lot of crimes that we would call petty today, that we would be like,
oh, Andrew crimes.
This is a misdemeanor. Yeah, we don't need to give anybody a really bad punishment for this, but they would hang them. And
that seems like a bad punishment.
There's a lot of reasons for this, but a big reason was there was a law that grand larceny would be punished by hanging. You'd hang somebody for grand larceny. And grand larceny was defined as a theft over 12 pence. Now, 12 pence, that's 12 pennies.
Oh my God.
This law was written in 1275, when that was equal to about a sheep. But by the 1700s, it was equal to a modestly upscale meal. So
Yikes.
Thanks to inflation, they are now hanging people left and right for barely anything. This was also kind of encouraged by rich people in London who were like, don't update the law. We want to deter property crimes. We want to expand, actually, the number of things that poor people could be hanged for. And they established a code of laws that was colloquially called the Bloody Code in 1723.
12 cents in 1700 is worth $9.21 today.
Yeah. Imagine getting hanged for that.
For not even $10.
Now, the more that this was expanded, the more the public started to have sympathy for people being executed for stealing a pair of shoes. Like the government can say, we're going to hang people for
everybody who was like, my uncle got executed.
Yeah. The people aren't going to be really big fans of that. And, some of the things that people could be hanged for was stealing a pair of shoes, like I just said, owing too much money to the bank, poaching a deer from the woods, cutting down the wrong tree. And so juries...
You shouldn't cut that tree.
Trees are expensive, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You ever look up tree law on Reddit? Nuts.
You know how you breathe
tree law is insane.
Oxygen from trees. Think about it.
Yeah. Thanks, trees.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the lesson in trees.
So juries started not convicting people. The juries would start like ignoring evidence and not convicting people, and they'd all like collude together to call people not guilty. And so then the harsh punishments ended up becoming less of a deterrent than before, because people were like, yeah, I'll just do whatever. Sure, they say that they'll hang me, but nobody will convict me. So they came up with the alternative. Instead of hanging somebody for these crimes, exile them to prison on another continent for 7 or 14 years, depending on the crime.
Yeah.
That's the wrong fucking way. Why not?
No.
Instead of 12 pence, it's now a relevant number. That makes sense for everybody in the time and place that we're at. Instead of changing that part of the law, I don't think you should hang
anybody, but I
guess
like, that's
if you're
radical
gonna
opinion.
like, instead of just changing the law, you were like in terms of like what is the definition of stealing, you're like, instead, let's just fucking ship people off somewhere.
Well, they won't be contributing to the stinking up of Great Britain, and they can help us. They can help expand the British Empire by building buildings in the colonies, or slopping muck, or doing sanitation, or cutting down trees that can be used to build ships. Or maybe you can just keep them locked up in a ship permanently anchored in a bay called a hulk, which is fun. Is that
where Stan Lee got the inspiration for the Incredible Hulk? Makes sense.
Yeah, because as we all know, after being blasted with gamma radiation, Bruce Banner turns into a large prison ship, and it's kind of fun
with English criminals inside.
Yeah. So this was America for a while. America was the place where they shipped criminals to, and then they were like, revolution, we can't do that. So they sent them to Australia. And so the first fleet to Australia left England in May 1787, arrived in what is now Sydney in 1788 with 751 convicts, 252 Marines, and administrators.
Wow.
And then over the course of the next 80 years, they shipped 160,000 convicts to Australia, peaking in 1833 with 7,000 prisoners in 1833.
Wow.
And I found a website where somebody has compiled all of the records, and well, I say somebody, but probably many people have compiled all the records, and you can search them. You can search for names, you can search for what they were sent there for, all kinds of really fun stuff. Somebody in the chat if you want to look through it. But you can see what crimes they were sent for. A fun one is armed assault on a house.
Well,
a few people sent for carnal knowledge. Ooh.
That's just fucking too good.
Desertion, embezzlement, unspecified felonies. One person was sent for harboring Irish priests.
You shouldn't do that.
Oh.
Don't you?
No, you shouldn't do that.
No.
Killing a deer, like I said.
Oh, dear.
A lot of people. So this was their way of, shipping people they didn't like out of the way.
Riotous conduct.
Yeah, stealing flannel. It was often used to persecute the Irish, which is kind of a classic English activity.
The tale as old as time.
Oh, sedition, the crime of creating a revolt, disturbance, or violence against lawful civil authority with the intent to cause its overthrow or destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And I searched my last name in the database, and I got 4 people. How fun is that?
Whoa.
One of them was a vagrant. So the convict system never really was a popular thing. It was just a thing that the government did. Well, I say convict system. It was called transportation. Like the actual people who also went there, because they were going to support a colony. So like regular people are also being sent over there. There was just also there's the prisoners. And the people who lived there weren't really a big fan of the transportation system because, the prisoners tend to do shoddy work because they don't want to be doing it. And they're getting paid a pittance to do it. And they're being forced to do it, but they kept doing it anyway because the people would be like, hey, these prisoners made a shitty post office. I don't like how shitty this post office is. But the government would be like, yes, but they made a cheap post office, so we will continue to do this. Now, the way that this worked for the actual prisoners who were sent is that there were penal stations, which was, like a prison, but those were usually secondary locations. And the first choice was to work under contract to British businessmen that they would obtain from local sheriffs. I mean, basically, they'd ship in. There'd be a whole new load of prisoners, and then the businessman would come be like, I need this many people to work on my sheep station, and the bailiff or whoever would be like, okay, I'll give you this many people. Here's this poor amount of money. Then they were sold the labor for the duration of the convict sentences. So 7 years for a nonviolent crime, 14 years for a violent crime. And so they'd be laboring on a sheep station. They worked sun up to sunset, Monday to Saturday, and were generally allowed to go.
Sorry.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I feel like at least, Bo, you're basically working sun up to sunset this time of year.
Thanks for reminding. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it back up.
But do you at least get Saturdays off?
Yeah, I get Saturdays off.
Okay, so see, they're working one extra day than you. And they were generally allowed to go wherever they wanted as long as they reported for work. And they could work extra hours for extra money, but never really that much. It was not like, it was effectively nothing. A lot of the time, depending on where they were, sometimes if they were like working in a city for like a shipyard, they would have to find their own lodging and pay for that with their poor criminal prisoner wages. And so then there were penal stations that were built that were basically prisons that they couldn't leave, but those were only sent if you were being a shit or being drunk or being lazy. And only 6% of people of the convicts that were sent ended up at these locations of secondary punishment. And then once your sentence ran out, you were free to go. You could go back home. But most people didn't go back to England because you had to pay to get back there. They wouldn't send you back. You had to pay to get back. And it turns out it's expensive, and also a lot of people didn't want to go on the 6-month boat ride again, so they just stayed and, generally speaking, became productive members of society.
Classic.
After their 7 or 14 years. So we're going to talk next about a guy who was the opposite of that, a man named Alexander Pearce. So, it's great to, you don't want to give a bad idea of, I don't want to vilify convicts. A lot of the times, especially during this time, it's just people in bad situations trying to make the best of it. They did some little petty thievery because they needed to.
Classic Jean Valjean.
Yeah,
he
Jean
stole a loaf
Valjean
of bread
situation
to feed his starving family.
But the thing about that
19 years
is that most of these stories are kind of boring. So these aren't the stories that end up being told. And instead, we're going to tell a story about Alexander Pearce. He was a little bit too dedicated to the drink, a little bit too combative a personality to be reformed, and became infamous for some of his actions.
Pearce, you're a bee.
Alexander Pearce was born in Ireland in 1790. He was sentenced to transportation to Van Diemen's Land, which is now known as Tasmania. It's a small island off the southwest.
Van Diemen's Land?
That's pretty fucking sick.
Yeah, Van Diemen's Land.
I like that.
How like DEMON?
No, DIEMEN.
No, I don't like that much anymore.
I love it.
Yeah, Tasmania is now called, it's now called Tasmania. It was then called Van Diemen's Land. named after
It's buck
Satan.
wild,
who
man.
founded was Van Diemen.
Yeah, no, it's Van Diemen's Land, named after Satan. Thank you.
So what the way that it was is that the island was discovered by Abel Tasman, but he was working under the sponsorship of Anthony Van Diemen, who was Governor General of the Dutch East Indies. And so they called it Van Diemen's Land because, as we all know, your boss is more important than you are. But then eventually they were like, hey, that sucks. Let's name it after the actual guy who discovered it. Discovered in air quotes, of course. Abel Tasman. So now it's Tasmania. Doesn't matter.
What was the name that it was called before that?
Like, what did the indigenous people call it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I should know that, but I don't. Look it up while I'm talking.
Do my job for me. Thank
Or
you.
don't. Yeah, do my job for me, please.
Lutruita. Lutruita.
Lutrita.
No, Lutruita. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Sorry. That was the song of the summer. Despacito, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Alexander Pearce, born in Ireland, 1790, sentenced to transportation to Van Diemen's Land in 1819 for stealing 6 pairs of shoes.
Was he a priest? Was he an Irish priest?
No, he was a petty criminal who...
What's the difference? Am I right? I'm just kidding.
No,
And he
this
really
wasn't
liked
usually-
shoes.
The main thing here is that he stole 6 pairs of shoes, and they were like, no man needs to have 6 pairs of shoes. You obviously
I
stole
am
this
no
so that you can
man.
sell them.
Oh my God, I have more than 6 pairs of shoes. I'm a criminal.
This is like,
Or you're
oh, yeah,
a
but you
woman.
didn't steal them all at once.
What are
But
you,
it
a
was like-
Nancy boy? Go to Australia.
Like possession with intent
What
to
do you need all those shoes
distribute.
for?
Yeah,
Off
yeah,
to
right.
Australia.
You're gonna sell these on the side, eh? Gonna
Why
upcharge
do all
them,
these
hey?
guys have transatlantic accents and not English accents?
I was going to say, this is why I was saying that this episode is within your...
Aye.
we should give you a chance to shine, Andrew, because all of your foreign accents end up becoming Australian
Oi
accents.
there,
Where'd you get all these shoes?
I'm an Irish priest.
That just sounded like JFK.
I am an Irish priest. I stole those shoes. 6 of them.
Pretty good.
So he arrived in Hobart, which is the
What'd you call me?
capital of Van Diemen's Land.
I am in Hobart.
He arrived in February 1821. Hobart nowadays is a very nice town that I visited. I ate a lot of brie.
Very
in
nice
Hobart.
town. Zach ate brie. I gotta stop.
But at the time, it was one of those sorts of towns where the convicts had to pay for their own housing.
In Australian, do you say Hobart? Like, I know they probably say it weird.
No, it's Hobart.
It's
Hobart.
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 H.
Pearce, you can't blame a man for craving freedom after being exiled from their home and forced into labor on a foreign continent, but Pearce really didn't know when to just kind of keep his head down and serve his time. From the convict records in May 1821, he embezzled 2 turkeys and 3 ducks and got 50 lashes and 14 days of labor on the yard gang.
How do you embezzle?
What a foul crime.
Yeah, how do you embezzle
And
birds?
Well, I think he was probably working on a farm or something like that had turkeys and ducks, and he like stole them to eat himself.
More like birdsel. Sorry.
You tried. I
Imbibed
felt you
them.
trying, and I appreciate your attempt.
Hey,
Trying to
JFK
get-
appreciates your support.
Thank you. Yeah, ask me if I like chowder.
Chowder.
Bo, do you like chowder?
Thank you. I wanted Andrew to do it in the JFK impression.
The best
When you say
chowder
chowder.
is the red chowder.
No, that's where you're wrong because JFK was from Massachusetts.
I love red
So he-
chowder.
Oh my God, he would
Heard it
punch.
here
He would
first.
punch you
Clam
for
chowder
saying
was where it's
that.
at.
He would punch you in the throat.
So in September of 1821, he was
Zach
drunk
hates
and
red chowder.
disorderly and absent from his lodges at the watch. So he wasn't there when they were checking on the people in the lodges. 25 lashes for that.
What the hell?
The hell sound was that?
I'm leaving that in. I'm leaving that in for the people who now the people will understand what I have to cut out every episode.
There was just a demon all of a sudden. The spirit of
Sudden-
Alexander Pearce
sudden demon
doesn't like that
syndrome.
I'm going to be bad-mouthing it.
Whatever that place was called in Australia, that's what the wind sounds like.
Hobart?
No, the demon place.
Van Diemen's
Van
Land.
Diemen's Land.
So November 26th, he was drunk and disorderly again. He stole a wine glass.
Dude,
Oh, that's why he stole a turkey.
this
It
dude
was
loves to fucking
Thanksgiving.
party.
He was just having his own Thanksgiving celebration.
So wait, he stole a wine glass. What did they do to him now?
50 lashes.
Not for a wine glass?
50
Come on.
lashes?
Well, he was also drunk and disorderly.
That's not worth two turkeys and a turducken or whatever.
The turkeys he stole in May. So it was May he stole the turkeys and the ducks. September he was drunk and disorderly and absent when they were doing the call. 26th of November he was drunk and disorderly again and stole a wine glass.
Once this guy got lashed once, he was like, "It's fine."
May I have a thank you? May I have another?
Yeah. What if he was into it and he was
then
like, yeah,
3 days later, 3 days later on November 29th, he stole a wheelbarrow. And then he
Worst crime.
got 50 lashes
Crime of the century.
and 6 months of labor in the jail gang. And then finally, on July 6th, he
that was funny.
spent 6 months.
Thank you.
Spent 6 months behaving himself. And then in July of 1822, he absconded into the woods. That's the wording that they use. Absconding into the woods for a long time and forged an order with intent to defraud. And so he was to be sent to Macquarie Harbor for the remainder of his original sentence of transportation.
Does that mean that he tried to he forged money or documents?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like a check fraud situation.
Okay, so how does a prisoner abscond to the woods?
Because he just said you only went to the bad penal place if you were extra bad. I guess they didn't want to send him there.
Wasn't this guy considered extra bad because he was sent there initially because he stole 6 pairs of shoes and now he's stealing more things and they're like, that's okay.
Well, he was lashed, and that was the
they couldn't have just lashed him in England,
getting whipped. Well, here's the thing. This is what got him sent to the secondary location because he spent 3 months in the woods. And so they were like,
gets you sent to the secondary
that's
location.
what gets you sent to the secondary. Apparently, you get 5 chances. So he got
as long
sent
as you're there to take your lashes, it's fine. But if you try and fuck off into the woods, that's a no.
Well, you know what they say?
Exactly.
The Australians have that very famous saying. Bo, you want to say it for me?
I come from a land down under.
No, not that one. That's a different one.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
You take a whiskey drink, you take a vodka drink.
Is that the same song? That's Chumbawamba.
That's a different song.
That's Chumbawamba. I don't think they're Australian.
Yeah, I don't think Chumbawamba's Australian.
Chumbawamba sounds the most Australian slang term I've ever heard. Prove me wrong.
We can Google it.
They're English.
And they tried to steal Australia.
Yeah, see? Point Sam, point proven, point Bo.
Okay, where were we?
He absconded into the woods and they sent him away again.
Yes, so he was sent to Macquarie Harbor. The Macquarie Harbor, the newly built Macquarie Harbor Penal Station, was to serve dual purpose. It was a hardcore convict station for those last resort type prisoners, and also it was meant to exploit the huge reserves of Yuan pine on the west side of Tasmania. Yuan pine is a really good wood. Yuan pine.
It's a good wood.
Do you want some pine?
It's a good wood.
Do you want some
You want pine?
It's a good wood.
I have Pearce.
I have Pearce. I have pine.
You want pine?
What's happening?
Yeah, Yuan pine is a now
Andrew,
protected
you're so old.
tree.
Get on the internet.
Yeah,
once in a
seriously,
while.
you old bitch, dude.
Engage with the culture from time to time,
Yeah.
Andrew.
JFK does not have the internet. He is dead.
It's because he doesn't have TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
I have Pearce will become to Instagram Reels in 2 months.
You
Yeah.
guys are addicted to TikTok.
Says the guy who shares 40 Instagram stories a day.
Honestly.
I know, seriously.
That's Instagram, not TikTok. Get with the times, youngster. I'm an adult, so that means I
Hot
watch
pedal.
TikToks a week later on Instagram.
We're the same color.
Who uses Reels still? Oh, I had to shame Renee out of it. Finally got him on that TikTok board. Grow up, Andrew. Just grow the fuck up.
No, growing up means you're using Instagram.
Grow the
and
fuck
not
up, dude.
that you're telling me to get younger.
Grow the fuck up and get with the times. Stop being a Luddite.
So Yuan pine Yuan pine only grows in southwestern Tasmania. They're really old, very old growth tree. They were 2,000 to 3,000 year old trees that they decided were perfect to cut down for shipbuilding. It's very strong. It has the perfect properties that you would want for building a ship out of.
Are you saying that the pine it's a perfect property pine?
It's
for
a perfect
placing
property
on
pine.
boats?
And it is now
Pontoons?
illegal to they didn't take all of it, but there's not a lot left. But it's
Amazingly.
illegal. You can't log it anymore.
That's amazing.
I'm glad that there's at least some.
Yeah, because usually they just take all of it and they're dicks.
Yeah. They didn't get all of it.
Or they don't get all of it, and they're like, and then they just burn the rest because they're like, hey, we don't need this. We need the land.
Well, might as well get rid of it.
Apparently, there's like one kind of store of already cut down pine that you can petition the government and be like, I would like some of the pine, please. And they'll be like,
you want pine?
Okay, you can
Too
have a little
fucking bad.
Can we do that?
So,
can like we do that?
I mean,
What do you want to make with it?
I just want some pine.
You
They'd
could
probably
probably
say no.
find less rare pine.
I want that one. Just like a stick.
Gimme.
It's interesting the way that like wood for shipbuilding works. When I was right out of college, I was volunteering at Mystic Seaport, which is kind of like this ship museum, and they were in the middle of restoring the Charles W. Morgan, which is this the oldest surviving whale ship.
You don't have to
You
explain
like
that to me.
boats.
I know that
Okay.
ship. Big ship fan of that ship.
It's a cool ship. And I was talking to the guys who were working on it, and they were saying that because it was done with grants and funding from the government, they were able to access like really old growth oak, I think it was. I don't remember what it was called, but it was similar to the Yuan pine, where it was like a really rare tree that only grows in one part of the United States. And it was like perfect for shipbuilding. And there was like some large amount of it that was knocked down by Katrina and was like in swamps, and they were allowed because they were working with the government money to also access this oak and use it to restore the ship. And it was a very big deal, and it was really cool. And I wish I could remember what it's called, but that's not what this was about.
Then thanks for the story.
God damn it, I'm talking about ships again.
Let me tell you about this boat that is not related for 5 seconds. Hold on.
Oh,
It was on an island
I
at the
used to
harbor
work
called
at
Sarah
Mystic
Island.
Seaport. It was Mystic. It was the same place where Mystic Pizza was a thing, but
I don't know what
they didn't
happened.
have
I
any
zoned-
boats there either.
I zoned back in and I was talking about whale ships and oak. I don't really know.
Let me
I don't know
digress
what's
here
going
for
on
a
anymore.
second. Anyway, the Australians had nothing to do with that boat.
So because this was the place for all of the criminals that they wanted to keep in one place, and they wanted to make it basically the Australian Alcatraz, and so they put it on Sarah Island.
Dude, that's
which
such
was
a good fucking band name. That is such a fucking
Australian
good band
Alcatraz.
That is a pretty good.
name. I'm starting a punk band. Bo, you're in.
Yay!
Zach, you're on thin ice with that whale ship story.
So Sarah Island.
I'm
it
not
was in
allowed
the
to be in your
harbor. It was
band?
in-
Oh,
Fine,
yeah,
fuck you.
it was a given. I thought you already knew that word.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're the
It didn't
vocalist.
have to be said, but if you want me to say it, I will.
It's nice to be included in things.
I get it. I 100% get it.
You're in. Ash is the leader.
So if the convicts wanted to try and escape from the penal station on Sarah Island, they'd have to first swim to the coast. And if they did manage to swim to the coast, then they'd have to brave probably the least hospitable environment in Australia, and that is counting the outback. So there was
Ooh.
the harbor was bordered by a small mountain range of sorts, a really jagged cliffs and peaks, gorges, and very fast rivers.
Love a good gorge.
Big gorge guy.
Big gorge.
Yeah.
Mhm. Because of this small mountain range and the like gusts of wind coming up from Antarctica and all this other jazz, they're basically located in a rain catchment, is what it called, which pretty much meant that it rained constantly and year round, making the areas that weren't just bare mountain probably the thickest temperate rainforest in like one of the most like one of the thickest temperate rainforests like in the world.
Theo.
And because of that wind, it was so windy that they had to build a 2 foot
windy
thick,
was it?
26 foot. They had to build a 2 foot thick, 26 foot tall windbreak wall around the penal station on the island.
Wow.
It rained so much that attempts to farm on the shore were flooded through and abandoned, and so all of the food had to be shipped in. The actual shipping things into the harbor was super treacherous because ships had to pass through what the sailors named Hell's Gates, which was a narrow, shallow channel that could only be navigated at high tide because otherwise a rapid current tore
gosh.
through the gap and pushed ships directly into the rocks. And even at high tide, it was like 9 feet deep. And so the
that's our
ships
band.
had to...
Our first album, is Australian Alcatraz. Our first name is the band. Album name is Hell's Tide or whatever it's called.
Hell's
Hell's
Gates.
Gates.
Hell's Gates. That's it.
So the ships had to unload their cargo before entering Hell's Gates. The cargo carried overland, and then once they got through the gates, they would reload the cargo onto the ship and then dock on the island.
That's so fucking stupid.
And because of a funny quirk with the weather, it would take 27 days for ships to go from Hobart to Macquarie Harbor, but then only 4 days to make the return journey.
Oh my God.
Which actually kind of helped make it a viable shipbuilding hub because the ships would just be leaving. There wouldn't be as many ships coming in. So they would cut down the Yuan Pine and start building ships there. And then they would just ship them out and it was easier. The convicts would work in chains, often in the water because it was so wet. In the cold, particularly if they were in the timber gangs, because they would cut down the trees and then they would bring them to the water where they would like use the water to transport the logs. It's a pretty classic logging situation.
Yeah.
So imagine just wading through water all the time with cold iron chains, keeping your legs together.
I don't want to do that.
And
I don't even want to imagine it.
I can't get it out of my head.
Thin clothing. The clothes that they had to wear was too thin to keep them warm. It was yellow and black. They called them their canaries. And then in addition to the loggers, there was miners who were mining lime for the kilns. There was brickmakers and there was charcoal burners. Each week, they got 10 pounds of bread, 7 pounds of salt beef or pork, and 28 ounces of gruel. But it was doled out daily. You didn't get like a week's supply of food. They gave you a daily amount of food. What?
Who named that food?
Gruel?
Gruel. That's the most disgusting sounding name of anything.
Yeah.
That's our second single.
Yeah, well, obviously. If you handed anything to anybody and said it was gruel, regardless if it was like a food or a dog or something, they'd be like, ew.
Gross. I have no idea where the word gruel comes from.
The person who made it was like, yeah, it's great. It's cool.
Maybe it comes from grain. I don't know.
Love a good portmanteau. And a
it's cool. It's cool. It's gruel. Yeah, it's great and cool. I like that. That's good. So they would give the food out daily so that nobody could build up a store of food for trading or hoarding to escape. And then nobody was. So you'd wake up in the morning, you'd feel like Mick Jagger momentarily until you got your gruel. You were fed in the morning.
I would definitely feel like Mick Jagger if I ate gruel.
I got my gruel like Jagger.
Then you would leave the island and go to the mainland on boats with supervising prison officers. What are they called?
Prison officers.
Guards.
Oh yeah.
They'd go to the Tasmanian mainland, but no convicts were allowed to bring food off of Sarah Island to prevent them from running off with food. So nobody got lunch. You didn't get lunch. You had to work throughout the entire day, sun up to sundown. No lunch.
Ugh.
One guy was found with cooking fat in his possession and was sentenced to 100 lashes and 6 months in the chain gang. A guy named Jonathan Smith was sent to the chain gang and given 50 lashes for trying to smuggle one biscuit into a gang boat.
One?
To the mainland. One biscuit. The warden was kind of nuts. He was very much of the I'm going to do super duper harsh punishments to keep people from going against my authority. So like if you lost your shirt either through neglect or disposing of it, 50 lashes, 6 months in the chain gang.
Bo would not survive. Nuisance. Bo lost. Bo, there's a shirt at my house that is Bo's, and he's never been here.
50 lashes.
How do you lose your shirt?
Life.
How often are you taking off your shirt?
More than you should.
Maybe you should cut that down. Maybe cut that like in half.
It's almost Bert Kreischer levels of Bo taking off his shirt.
God invented shirts for a reason, Bo.
Yeah,
it's true. It's not a high bar to clear, but you clear it well.
All the Bert heads who listen to this is going to be fucking furious.
I looked up the etymology of gruel.
Hit me.
It comes from a Latin word, which diminutive of the word grutum, which means flour or meal.
Grutum sounds like scrotum.
Grutum.
Sputum.
It has multiple meanings. It could be a thin porridge made from boiling meal in water or milk. But in British English, in the 1700s, just boiled meal.
Ew.
Like oatmeal?
Just boiled oatmeal.
In water or milk. I mean, isn't that how you make oatmeal?
You put it in the microwave like a goddamn adult and watch your Instagram reels.
Okay, they didn't have that. But it also became a slang phrase to mean to receive your punishment, to get your gruel.
Oh. So, well, I mean, it's a punishment because it tastes so bad. So I get it.
Anyway, please continue.
Fuck that.
So
new single.
Then another example of how absurd
please, sir,
the
more
warden
gruel.
was. James Mason chopped off 2 of his fingers with an axe by accident. But
accident?
The warden,
We have fun here.
Cuthbert said he charged him with damaging himself in order to deprive the government of his labor and gave him 50 lashes.
That's fucked up, dude.
So the situation was pretty horrible enough that a lot of the people who were sent to Macquarie Harbor were not sent there for violent crimes. It was just being lazy or,
fucking off to the woods for 3 months.
Fucking off in the woods for 3 months. They weren't violent people necessarily, but a lot of people who were not convicted of violent crimes started being violent because they just snapped because of how shitty it was. One guy killed another prisoner with an axe, and when they asked why, he said this guy was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another guy got his throat slit because he reneged on a deal to give a guy the fat skimmed off the top of the meat boiler. And then a group of guys who were in a gang together murdered their officer so that they could be sent to Hobart to be hanged because it meant that they wouldn't be at Sarah Island anymore. And then plenty of people tried to escape, but they were either recaptured or they ended up starving to death in the forest or, died for any other version of reasons. So you can see why a man like Alexander Pearce, with already a history of absconding into the woods for 3 months, was now in this trying to escape group, as you can see from the kind of person
I'd want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. So 8 weeks, he got to Macquarie Harbor, and 8 weeks went by, and he was like, fuck this, we are leaving. And on September 20th, 1822, he and the 7 others in his work gang put together a plan to escape with a boat and sailed out of the harbor to an island in the Pacific. So they were going to overpower their guard, take the boat that they were sent to the mainland on, and then get out of the harbor, go off to an island in the Pacific. Very much we got to do one more score and we can get to Tahiti, Arthur.
I have a plan.
It's
to eat gruel.
Mm-hmm.
I have a plan to eat clam chowder with gruel.
And so they went through it. I feel like if you added like a barley to clam chowder, it could be pretty good.
Dude, JFK just ate fucking chip beef, which is the same shit.
And
cream chip beef or whatever.
And Cuban missiles.
They call it shit on a shingle for a reason.
So they enacted the plan.
And bullets.
They overpowered the guard. They got the boat. And they went to put out the fire that they were working by.
Too soon.
Classic. They went to put out the fire that they were working by, but they poured water on the fire, which essentially set up a smoke signal.
Make smoke?
Yeah, it's set up a smoke signal. It alerted all of the other guards that something was fucky. They locked down the harbor.
Something's fucky here.
And so they abandoned the boat and ran off into the rainforest with woefully inadequate supplies. And this was when they quickly started to realize that they were fucked. The rainforest, it's wild, it's fucky, it's nuts. Even today, only really experienced hikers will go into this area of Tasmania, and they have lots of supplies. They're very prepared for it. There's obscenely dense scrub at a lot of the point. The scrub is so thick that you can't walk through it. You have to walk on top of it. There's something called cutting grass, which would cut up your legs. And then because it was so wet and horrible, you'd get infected really quickly. And for good measure, there was shitloads of leeches. And if you think, well, at least it was September, at least it was warm out. Southern Hemisphere, baby. September's winter. It was cold.
September's not that warm anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. So about a week in, they ran out of food. And a few days after that, a member of the group mentioned that, quote, he was so hungry he could eat a piece of a man.
I thought it was a horse.
And they all laughed it off.
I thought you were about to dump us on a nice saying. Hey, that's where I'm so hungry I can eat a horse. Well, now I'm upset. I'm done listening.
I was so hungry he could eat a piece of a man.
Is this Chekhov's cannibalism?
Well, the next day, a guy named Greenhill, who was kind of the leader of the group.
His first name was Green?
No, his last name was Greenhill. Yeah, I'm just going to refer to him by the last name. You don't need to know his first name. Too much information. Greenhill brought it up a little bit more seriously. He was like, well, I was a sailor. I met some cannibals who told me that man tastes like pork, and it's pretty good. And
if we were going to eat someone.
Mm-hmm. So they started walking for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you guys, if we were all like lost at sea or
Zach,
marooned in the rainforest or whatever,
Zach.
I am not going to eat Zach.
I'm eating Zach.
I'd eat Zach.
I'm eating Bo first.
Why? Zach has...
Wait. Are you saying that you're killing Bo and then you're going to eat him?
Yeah, I'm killing Bo and eating him over Zach. Yeah.
Not who dies first?
Because I'll murder Zach.
Oh, see,
We got to choose, man.
I've got that thick layer of like belly fat. It'd be like eating pork belly. If you ate it on an empty stomach, you'd have such a bad tummy ache.
But it's so good. You just said the best part of the pork.
Zach, who are you killing and eating?
Probably Andrew.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
You seem like you'd have a nice marbling to you.
I do. I'm delicious. That was the correct answer, by the way. If we're all together, you should eat me first. Because one, I'm a millennial, so I'm tired of being alive. And two, I'm delicious.
Are we all millennials?
I think we're all millennials.
I'm the most millennial.
Yeah, we're all millennials.
I'm the oldest one here.
I literally started the podcast talking about me wanting to kill myself.
Well, yeah. So but that wasn't for like food. It was just for for pleasure.
It can be both.
Yeah,
but also, like, I'm the oldest one here, so statistically, I'm going to die first. So you might as well just chop me off while you can.
Maybe
all right, fine. If you're volunteering, but also I think that you have worked your muscles too much and they'd be too tough.
Do you start with the
maybe
best
once you taste man flesh, you'll have a renewed verve for life.
That's the question. When you start, like, you order a fancy meal at a restaurant, what do you start with? Do you start with the steak or do you start with the potatoes?
What are the potatoes in this scenario?
I'm the steak. Bo's the potatoes, Zach's the vegetables,
that's just
and
more
Ash.
steak.
I think Ash is just the one who's eating right now.
So during that day's hiking, Greenhill and Alexander Pearce and two others found themselves at the front of the line and started speaking a little bit more seriously about, maybe if they killed somebody and ate them, it would be a little bit easier for everybody. Fewer mouths to feed, and now there's food. So they agreed to work together so that nobody would be held singularly responsible to kill a guy in the group. Specifically, they chose a man whose name was Dalton because they didn't like him because he had volunteered to be one of the guys who does the lashing back at the island.
I mean,
because they made the prisoners flog each other. By the way, they made them.
My god, that's so fucked up, dude.
Yeah,
but wouldn't that be good though? Because like, they wouldn't put their whole effort into it.
Unless he did, and then you're just like, you're a piece of shit.
Well, if you didn't put your whole effort into it, you'd also get lashed. And he volunteered for it.
He volunteered,
too, which is
so it's like
up.
if you begrudgingly accept because you're going to get lashed too, that's one thing. But if this guy's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Dalton's like, I have a feeling that
my name's Dalton. Dalton is like the guy that you invite to the party because you're planning a party and then he walks into the room and you can't just like exclude it,
And so we're all meeting at 8. Oh, hey, you're also here.
Yeah, that or like you throw a party and then you say, don't go into my parents' bedroom. And then you walk in there and guess who's in there?
Oh, fucking
Dalton is in there.
What's he doing in there?
Dalton.
Like, what are you doing? And he's like, nothing. You're like, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'll use some of your dad's cologne.
And then you kill him.
I told you not to use my parents' bed. Get out. Because, he's fucking in this guy's bed.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was just standing in the middle of the room just doing nothing because he's weird because his name is Dalton.
Yeah. So anyway, that night at about 3 a.m. when Dalton was sleeping, the four of them cooperated in murdering him and butchering his body and dividing it amongst everyone. Would you like to hear
Was
the
he down
verbatim
for
quote?
this? Or did they they were like, hey, Dalton, can you go get us some water from the river? Okay, so after he goes to sleep, we're killing him, right? I'm just saying, how was it orchestrated?
About 3 o'clock in the morning, Dalton was asleep. Greenhill got up, took an axe and struck him on the head with it, which killed him as he never spoke afterwards. Travers took a knife, cut his throat with it, and bled him. We then dragged the body to a distance, cut off his clothes, tore his inside out, cut off his head. Then Mather, Travers, and Greenhill put his heart and liver on the fire to broil, but took them off and eat them before they were right hot. They asked the rest would they have any, but we could not eat any that night. Next morning, the body was cut up and divided into equal parts, which we took and proceeded on our journey a little after sunrise.
So they were too full from murder to eat his whole body?
Yeah, I think so, maybe. Or maybe they just weren't fully up to it, but they ended up eating him later. So now there were two guys who were not involved in this cannibalism plot, and one of them was
watching in fucking horror.
Basically just watching in horror.
Yeah, guys, we're definitely part of this.
And one of them was actually the first one who the guy before who like casually brought up eating a piece of man. It was this guy was not included in the cannibalism plot, and as soon as he was confronted with the cannibalism happening, he was like, "Fuck this!" Actually,
I was joking.
Oh my god, we all laughed about it.
I was just using dark humor to make light of our grim situation. I didn't think you'd actually do it.
And so this guy and another guy,
but fuck Dalton though.
Were like, they went back. Fuck Dalton though, but we're going back, and they went back the way that they came, but they eventually died from exhaustion on the shores of Macquarie Harbor.
Oh.
The rest of them The rest of them kept going with Greenhill as the leader because
like,
he had
good,
navigation experience.
Nom, 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 nom.
Occasionally, they'd find some kangaroos or emus or something to eat. Another, a few days later, they had to draw straws and kill and eat somebody again. And they cooked it. At first, they cooked them, but at the end, they just devoured the bits raw because they were so hungry.
Ew.
Ugh.
And then after 5 weeks in the bush, it was Pearce, Greenhill, and Travers. Travers was actually friends with Pearce. They were buddies. But he got bit in the foot by a snake, and Pearce had to drag and carry him for 5 days until Travers was begging them to kill him and eat him. So they axed and killed him with an axe and ate him.
Is that if you get bit by a snake and it's poisonous, can you then be eaten?
Yes, because they ate him and it was fine.
Okay. Math checks out.
And so this was 5 weeks in just wandering through the rainforest. After this, there was just Greenhill and Pearce, and both of them were like, this motherfucker's gonna murder and eat me.
Yeah,
and
in my sleep.
In my sleep. And so they spent 8 days just being paranoid that the other one was gonna kill and eat them, until eventually Pearce was like, okay, I'm doing it. And he grabbed the axe and killed Greenhill while he was asleep. Like,
I can't take it anymore.
He's like, I'll be the first one to try it.
The way it is that he wrote about it is kind of like they were both like sitting at a fire just staring at each other like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna try and kill me. And Greenhill just fell asleep, and then he lost the staying awake contest. And then Pearce was like, all right, now's my chance. He just grabbed the axe and
contest.
grabbed the axe and killed him, and then ate him.
And ate him.
He was alone in the bush, and he kept wandering. He didn't know where he was going. He contemplated hanging himself with his bag, but couldn't go through with it.
No. You've eaten enough people to try and make it all the way through.
Yeah. And before too much longer, he made it to a settled area. Vaguely settled. It wasn't the most settled, but he actually met a convict shepherd who he knew from when they were at Hobart, and he was also a convict. And so he fed him, and I mean, obviously he didn't say, I started out in a group of 8 and now I'm the only one left.
All in my tummy.
All in my tummy. And I'm going to leave him in your bathroom on the way out.
He gave him some food and gave him a place to sleep and hid him from his master.
He's like, hey man, do you want some pork? He's like, oh, I couldn't possibly.
Or he takes a bite and he's like, close, but no cigar.
Dalton. What? I mean, what?
He kind of lived like around the area like a bush ranger. He would
Dalton was much pepperier.
He spent a few weeks kind of sleeping in the edges of the bush and then like stealing food from somebody else.
General vagrancy
for a couple of weeks. And then he was finally recaptured, which was in January, 113 days after he first ran off into the bush.
All that?
Just to get recaptured?
Yeah, just get recaptured like a little.
Who are you, King Henry the Sixth?
4 months.
Dude, he ate so many pulled Dalton sandwiches. Get a pulled pork.
I don't know if they put that much effort into the preparation.
Well, they definitely.
I thought you said cold Dalton sandwiches.
Was Dalton redhead?
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling he's a redhead.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna go and say yeah, he was.
Okay.
But yeah, he was definitely a redhead after they cut it off and got his.
Oh, hey man, have some respect.
Hey,
So when the officers caught him, they were like, "Hey, there was a bunch of other people with you. Where did those guys go?"
I'll never tell.
They got sleepy.
It's like he's with us here today.
Did he tell them that he ate them all?
Yeah, he confessed. So like when I read that to you from before, that was from the confession that he gave.
Oh,
I found
that's
it
not
online.
A crime. Like they all were drawing straws. That ain't a crime.
It is a crime.
That's just bros being bros.
It is a crime, especially because I'm pretty sure that Dalton wasn't cool with it.
The Dalton one was, okay, we'll give him that one.
And the other guy who fell asleep and he murdered him.
The snake guy, he was like, please do this. I don't want to be a snake person. And I assume he was turning into like Snake Man, like Spider-Man. And he ate him.
So he did this confession and they didn't believe him. They thought that he was covering for everybody else who escaped and that they were now bush rangers.
Did you?
There's no possible way somebody is this fucked up. And he's like, follow the fucking trail of bones, dog.
Yeah, bush rangers are kind of like a common thing in Australia in this era. I don't like. This is what they. A bush ranger was an escaped convict who was like living off the land and robbing people, like he had just spent the last few weeks doing. And so this is kind of, I don't want to say common thing as though it was like an epidemic of bushrangers, but this is the sort of thing that happens when you bring a bunch of conflicts to a foreign continent, you know. So they didn't believe him when
he's the Australian version of Power Ranger.
So they did. Yeah,
that was funny.
They're teens with attitude.
You should be laughing at that.
Oh, I forgot to laugh. I'm sorry.
They're all teens with attitude. When they hit their little medallion in their chest, they get
they just turn to a giant kangaroo,
a duster coat, and a hat. So they didn't believe him when he said that he ate all these people. They thought that he was covering for his friends, and so he wasn't like charged with anything. He was just brought back to Sarah Island, probably lashed. And the other convicts gave him a hero's welcome. They were like, "This fucking guy! Wow, you spent longer in the bush than anyone else."
Except for your friends who are still out there, right? Yeah.
So this was in like January, February. And so he lasted a little bit longer, but he did escape again in November with just one other guy, a man named Thomas Cox, who, depending on the story, either pestered him into coming along or pestered him into doing the escape entirely. Like, if from Pearce's point of, like, when he was talking about it later, he was like, "Oh, I didn't want to do the escape, but Cox really wanted to do the escape, and he just kept badgering me about it." And I was like, "Fine, let's escape together." But this one didn't last as long. He was recaptured after only 11 days on the lam. He had returned to the harbor and surrendered to the guards who were looking for him.
With Thomas Cox's femur in his mouth.
No, pieces of Thomas Cox in his pockets. So it turns out that
he used his femur as a toothpick.
Oh, Jesus Christ! It took 11
That's the
days.
Worst bone to use for
just 11 days to eat this guy.
That's pinky.
So apparently Cox was not very skilled in outdoorsmanship. And a few days in, they got to a point where they had to cross a river, and Cox confessed that he couldn't swim. And Pearce was like, "This fucking guy."
And he's like, "Oh, I got you, dog," and he just kills him.
And killed him in a rage. Yeah, he just got raged up and killed him.
Oh my God.
And he had other food. He still had food with him when he was found.
Yeah, but he
just decided to eat this guy because, yeah, he got the taste for human meat.
He pissed me off real bad. I just really wanted to eat him.
Yeah, I mean, you make me mad. I get hungry. You won't like me when I'm hungry.
I think the reason why he surrendered was because he didn't have like an entourage of 7 people with him that he could just kill one and eat him when he got hungry.
To eat. I need to go get some more food.
Yeah.
This motherfucker pestering me every day. We should escape. And then he can't fucking swim.
Right? Honestly, I would probably kill him too. I wouldn't eat him, but I would probably kill him.
Not even a little taste? Not even a nibble?
This time,
he didn't say no.
They were like, okay, now it's pretty obvious that you did a murder. Like, it's pretty apparent that you did it. We found bits of this guy in your pocket. This is obviously a murder and also a cannibalism, both of which are pretty big no-nos. So he was brought to the Hobart Town jail and tried in court.
But he confessed to this already, though.
Well, the first confession, they thought he was lying. So
Stop it.
I told you I did it.
Imagine doing a crime so bad that nobody believes you.
And also, it's worth noting that the details changed a little. He ended up confessing to the first, like, he did 3 confessions for the first time. The first one was...
What is he, R. Kelly?
Right.
I can't, every time he said confessions, joke. I always said, I wanted to drop it, but I just couldn't because I didn't want to drop an R. Kelly joke.
I ate a bunch of motherfuckers.
Isn't that Usher?
Oh, wait, is that Usher?
Wait, no, I think it's R. Kelly. Hold on, I'll look it up right now. Hold on.
These are my confessions. Just when
there's a lot of similarities. They're both cannibals. I'm sure that Pearce may be engaged in
it is Usher.
Golden shower from time to time.
Solid joke.
What is he, Usher?
Yeah.
Are they hanging this guy yet?
The second time he confessed when he was being tried in Hobart, and then the third time he confessed to a priest right before he was hanged.
There you go.
On July 19th. And so each time he confessed, the story was a little bit different, but the only thing that really changed was the order in which the people were murdered.
Things get fuzzy.
Did I kill him first, or did I kill him first?
Yeah, how many times you got to remember the how many people died at once when you're eating them. It gets a little fuzzy.
So the important thing is that 8 men escaped, and one of them.
I feel like this motherfucker had such a long leash
and a full tummy.
Yeah. And he ended up being hanged in front of the Hobart Town jail.
Was his last meal Dalton?
Was he like, what's your last meal? He's just looking around the room, licking his lips.
I made some jerky.
Yeah, he found like a little bit in like between his teeth, and he was like, a little morsel for later.
I dried this bit when I was in the bush. Gonna have it.
Why
as a
is he
snack.
the creepy neighbor guy from Family Guy?
Because he's a cannibal. Dog.
Yeah, he's a cannibal.
Is he a cannibal in the show?
No, but he's creepy enough to be one.
So as was the style at the time, they dissected his body for science. They were like, this guy's fucked up. Let's see what's wrong with the insides of him. And I assume that they didn't find anything too crazy about him, but as these things tend to go at the time, we're talking about the 1820s, his skull bounced around for a while. People were like, this is Alexander Pearce's skull. This is a skull of a cannibal and a madman.
What did the scientists do to him?
So for a while, he was in the collection of one of the guys who pioneered skull racism, which was like, this is a skull of a white man and it's large, so he must have been intelligent. And then finally it ended up in
he ate 9 people.
Yes, but it's a sinister intelligence.
Oh my god.
And then it finally ended up in the collection of the University of Pennsylvania, which is where it is now. And that was
when Zach went to college.
No, it's not where I went to college, but it has shown up. The University of Pennsylvania has featured on this podcast before. Do you remember
why does all the weird stuff end up at University of Pennsylvania?
Is that where the guy had the other skeleton?
Yeah, that's where Edward Trinker Cope's skeleton ended up too. Why do they have so many skulls?
Maybe the guy who has the skeletons just like grabs them and makes them kiss all the time. That's the only thing I can think of.
Why do they have so many skulls? So that's the story of Alexander Pearce. There have been a bunch of movies made about him, a bunch of books. I read a book when I was when I was taking an Australian studies class. I wrote a paper about Alexander Pearce. It's a fun story.
That's not fun.
You got prison escapes, you got cannibalism, you got murder, you got...
It's just a guy being an asshole the whole time.
Turkeys.
The whole time. Maybe not at the beginning when he stole like the shoes.
It's a fun, every once in a while you just want a story about a maniac,
Stealing somebody's shoes is kind of an asshole move.
A maniac he was.
Yeah, let's do a story about
You don't know that he stole them off of people's feet.
Yeah, but stealing people's shoes in general.
He could have stolen from the store.
If he was at a party and like people take their shoes off at the front door and you steal someone's shoes, that's fucked up.
I don't know that the specificities of his shoe thievery survived.
So how do you go from, I mean, I guess we know now, but how do you go from I'm stealing a shoe to I'm going to eat Dave?
It turns out you get lashed a lot and you get sent away from your home and forced to work really horrible hours with not enough nutrition in a very violent environment.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty big thing. I mean, how many lashes did this guy get in total? There's 50.
How many did Dalton
75, give him? 125, 175. So 175 lashes before he even got
his back was probably so fucked up.
Bo, I think you can beat that.
Oh, yeah, I can.
I think we could lash Bo at least 180 before he starts eating people.
182.
I don't know. Have you ever seen,
I've seen Starship Troopers. If he could take it, I could take it.
I don't know. They could only give Jesus 40 lashes. They couldn't even make it to 40 before they had to stop.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like I'm the son of God, so I can beat him.
Wow.
That's how full of myself I am.
It's a little egotistical.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Bo, I think you can do it. I believe in you.
Thank you.
I'm the only one who believes in you.
We'll record it. We'll put it on the YouTube channel. Let's do it.
As well as the live bidet test that we talked about last time too. We really need to get on that.
According to Bo, at the beginning of this podcast, fucking 3 seconds on getting shipped to the colonies, he would have jumped into the ocean.
No.
Yeah, you're Californian. You can't handle being cold.
You don't know that. You don't know that about me.
Is it cold in Australia? Thought it was notoriously hot as fuck there.
He said it was raining all the time. They were always wet and in the water.
It was hot.
They had metal chains around them, and it's wintertime.
And it's Tasmania, which is the temperate part of Australia, and it's also extremely cold. It was like freezing temperatures.
Oh, I believe in you.
I got this.
I said it. I don't regret it.
Great. What was everybody's favorite part?
I'll do this, but I'll do that here. What was everyone's favorite part? That's supposed to be my job.
You're supposed to ask the specific. First you're supposed to say what you liked, and then you talk to the specific people. Go. Bo, take us in.
Oh yeah. Hey, Andrew, what was your favorite part?
Hey, my favorite part. Let's see here. I had a lot of favorite parts, but my super favorite part was when Zach told the meaningless story about the whale ship that had nothing to do with the story.
Okay, that was only like it had something to do with the story because it was also about government protected wood.
That's also my favorite part.
I'm sorry,
Ash,
I fell asleep during that sentence, man.
Hey, Ash, hey, Ash, hey. What was your favorite part?
So this episode was like kind of a bummer all the way around. I mean, it was interesting. I liked learning about it.
I think I know Ash's favorite part.
Oh, do you? Tell me.
JFK was Ash's favorite part.
Oh, God. That was my least favorite part,
How is it that we did an episode about Australia and you spent most of it doing a JFK impression?
You know what? That's on brand for me, dog. you go at me with what you expect, and I fucking turn left on you. You're welcome. Just like this guy. We're like, let's go escape. And he's like, I'm going to eat you instead. Hard left turn.
I don't know why I've done so many stories that involve cannibalism.
Most of your stories have involved cannibalism.
Not most of. This is like the third one.
Bo introduced cannibalism into this podcast.
Did he?
When?
Yeah. When the episode that Andrew wasn't here, you brought some cannibalism facts for us.
Oh yeah, you were talking about the legs,
about like the caloric density of different.
Why didn't I
cannibalism
not remember
parts?
this? I edited it
Because you weren't there.
Brought this devil in.
You weren't there.
I edited it though.
I think it was the first micro multi dump that Andrew wasn't there.
That was with Justin?
No, it's just us three.
Yeah. Justin was in the second multi micro.
No, yeah, it was just us three.
Oh my God.
And we said when Andrew's away, the three of us talk about cannibalism.
Weird.
Cannibalism.
That's a weird thing to say.
What's the other word for cannibalism? Apophagy?
Anthropophagy.
Anthropophagy.
Hunger with the homies.
Mm-hmm.
Got that homie hunger.
Homie hunger.
I mean, there's a lot of stories that I could tell about cannibalism. Do you ever read about that?
Cannibal?
Hey, babe.
Alive?
Hey, babe.
Like in Alive with the rugby team?
I think Ash is trying to stop you from talking.
Zach.
Hey, babe. Save it for the pod, baby. That is a good story, though. I have heard of that.
Yeah.
Remember, that means shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's her polite way of saying, Zach, shut the fuck up.
That's how this pod started. Remember? We were like,
That's
Zach,
my way of saying it's been an hour and 18 minutes.
All right.
So-
Hey, I said it would be a little over an hour.
Shut the fuck up. I'll just straight up say it. All right. Hey,
so take us
Zach,
into the outro.
It's over an hour.
Zach, hey, thanks for a lovely.
You have to ask Zach his favorite part.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
Zach,
You have to- you
researching
can't.
this,
You
what was your
cannot.
favorite part?
My favorite part was finding my ancestors in the convict records. Well, not ancestors, but people with maybe they were cousins. I don't know. The convict
Fun.
records.
That
One of
sounds
them was a
fun
vagrant.
times.
I've got vagrancy in my genes.
You are a vagrant.
A little bit, yeah.
I said it.
All right. Well, that was a very cannibalistic episode. Thank you.
Hey,
I love
nom nom nom.
dudes eating dudes.
Cannibalistic.
I can
Guys being dudes.
guys being dudes.
Just guys being
dudes just fucking going down on each other.
Dudes being foods.
Just going down.
One of my favorite genre of story, a boy's trip gone wrong.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Classic.
you can if you like this episode or if you're feeling hungry, if you know someone you want to eat, go ahead and
Stop on
send us
down
a-
to Bo's Human Shack where you can get yourself all kind of meats.
use promo code Dalton for 50% off your first order.
50%.
Yeah, you know where to find us. So I really have to say it every time.
Probably.
Okay. Email.
Podpage.com/getdumpedonpodcast.
Oh yeah, just go to the website. It's a one-stop shop.
Instagram, Get Dumped On Podcast.
No, just go to the website. Go to the website. What's the website? Again?
Gmail,
Go to the website. You can find everything there.
gmail.com.
Yeah. Whatever the Zach said the podcast website earlier. So go there, and that's our one-stop shop for everything you need.
Podpage.com/getdumpedonpodcast. Send me money so I can get us an easier to remember domain.
Do it. Just do it for Zach.
Yeah, send me money.
If you like Zach, give him money. You know what? Give me money too, because I've been good.
You know, there's someone here who can help with that. JFK says, give Zach more money. I don't know what accent that was.
I would like some of that Kennedy
Okay,
money.
bye.
The Kennedys have so much.
Anyway,
Okay, bye.
I've been Bo.
Okay, bye.
Read my lips.
That's JFK.
I'm JFK.
That was Ronald Reagan who said,
Oh,
"Read my lips."
Shit.
Oh, Malafors.
Can you do a Reagan impression?
We certainly know one person who's not here though.
Eat
and
my
that's
lips.
Dalton.
My name's Dalton. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab grab your friends. Let's listen together on Get Dumped on an Info Dump podcast.
I am delicious.
Okay, bye.